Welcome to Short Meaningful Story, where every narrative offers a moment of reflection. If you appreciate stories that touch the heart and inspire the mind, please like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who might need it today. Your support helps us grow. Thank you, and let's begin.
Well, hello there, my wonderful story friends. Welcome back to our cozy story corner, the best place for amazing adventures. Are you ready to go on a journey? A journey deep into a whispering woods where the trees talk and rustles and the path is covered in moss, where two of the bravest kids you'll ever meet are about to find a house that looks good enough to eat? That's right. So find your snuggliest spot, maybe grab a teddy bear for company, and get your brave hearts ready for the classic tale of Hansel and Gretel.
Hansel and Gretel, a sweet forest adventure.
On the very edge of a great whispering forest where the sunbeams played hide and seek through the leaves lived a brother and sister. The boy was named Hansel. Now, Hansel wasn't just any boy. He was clever as a fox, always thinking, always watching, and he loved his little sister more than anything. And his sister Gretel, she had a heart as soft and kind as fresh fallen snow. She was brave, too, but her bravery was the quiet kind, the kind that grows when someone you love is in trouble. Life in their little cottage was simple, and sometimes it was very hard. Their father, a woodcutter, was a good man with a gentle smile, but his shoulders were always tired from work. He chopped and chopped wood to sell in the village, but it was never enough to fill all their tummies. Some nights, as they lay in their beds, they would hear their tummies rumble like little hungry thunderstorms. And then there was their stepmother. She wasn't a monster, not exactly, but her heart was often as cold as a winter window pane. She worried about food all the time, and when she worried, she became sharp and cross, like a thorny rosebush. "This is hopeless, absolutely hopeless. Look at this. One crust of bread, a handful of flour, and 3 wrinkled apples. There are 4 of us. We will all waste away to shadows, I tell you." The woodcutter came inside, wiping his brow. He sighed a sigh that seemed to come from his very boots.
"What can we do, my dear? I work until my hands are raw. The forest does not give up its wood easily, and the villagers have little to pay."
The stepmother turned from the pantry, her eyes glittering with a desperate, not very nice idea. She looked out the window at the dark, tangled trees of the forest. "Listen to me. Tomorrow, at first light, we will take the children deep, deep into the heart of the forest. We will make a fire for them, tell them we are working nearby, and then we will slip away and leave them there."
Leave them? Abandon my own children? I could never. It is too cruel. The forest is full of wild things.
It is cruel to watch them starve slowly. This way, at least we two might survive. It is the only way, you foolish man. The only way.
Now Hansel and Gretel, who were supposed to be asleep on their little straw mattresses in the corner, were wide awake. They had heard every word. Gretel's eyes filled with big, wobbly tears that traced shiny paths down her cheeks. She reached for her brother's hand under the blanket.
"Oh, Hansel, did you hear that? They are going to leave us all alone in the dark woods. What will we do? We'll be lost forever."
But Hansel, his brain already whirring like a little machine, squeezed her hand tightly.
"Shh, little sister, don't you cry a single more tear. I have a plan. A brilliant plan. You'll see.
Once the cottage was filled with the deep, rumbling sounds of sleep, Hansel, quiet as a shadow, crept out of bed. The moon was full and round, a giant, friendly pearl in the velvet sky. It shone so brightly that the path in front of their cottage looked like it was made of liquid silver. And on that path, little white pebbles gleamed and twinkled, each one catching the moonlight. Hansel filled his pockets until they were heavy and bulky. Then he tiptoed back to bed. See, I told you he was clever. He was going to leave a trail, just like you might leave a trail of string, but his trail was made of shiny stones that the moon would light up for him. What a smart, smart boy. The next morning, before the sun had even properly yawned and stretched, the stepmother shook them awake.
Up, you lazy children! Your father needs help in the forest today. Here, this is for your breakfast.
She gave them each a tiny, hard piece of bread, no bigger than a cookie. With heavy hearts, they followed their father and stepmother into the woods. They walked and walked and walked. The trees grew taller and closer together, their branches weaving a roof that blocked out most of the sun. It became damp and cool, and the sounds changed from cheerful bird songs to the creepy creaking of ancient trees and the hoot of a hidden owl. But clever Hansel, he kept lagging behind.
Oh, my shoelace is untied,
He would say. Or,
Look, Father, a rare red-spotted woodpecker.
and every time he stopped, he quickly reached into his pocket and dropped one of the shiny white pebbles onto the path. He was making a trail of little moon beacons. His plan was to follow them home by the light of the moon. Isn't that fantastic? After what felt like 100 miles, they came to a small clearing. The stepmother said,
Wait here, children. We are just going to chop wood on the other side of that hill. Be good and don't wander off.
The woodcutter looked at them, his eyes filled with such sadness it could have filled a lake, but he turned and followed his wife. Hansel and Gretel sat down on a soft patch of moss. The forest was so quiet, just the whisper of the wind. Gretel rested her head on Hansel's shoulder, and the long, sad walk and the quiet hum of the forest made their eyelids feel as heavy as rocks. Before they knew it, they were both fast asleep. When they woke up, it was pitch black, the kind of black where you can't see your own hand in front of your face. Gretel gasped, her heart pounding like a tiny drum.
Hansel, they're gone. They really, truly left us.
But Hansel just put his arm around her.
Don't be scared, Gretel. Look, the moon is our friend tonight.
Just then, the magnificent moon rose high above the trees, and its brilliant white light poured down through the branches. And on the dark forest floor, a magical thing happened. The little white pebbles began to glow. They looked like a trail of tiny fallen stars, each one winking and shimmering, showing them the way back the way they had come. The pebbles were reflecting the moonlight. What a brilliant plan! It was like a secret map only they could read. So, hand in hand, they followed the glowing trail. It was a spooky walk. Twigs snapped in the darkness, and eyes seemed to peer at them from the bushes. But they held each other's hands tightly, and they sang a soft little song to keep their spirits up, following the magical stone trail all the way back to the edge of the forest. And there, like the best sight in the world, was their own little cottage. They ran so fast their feet were a blur. They burst through the front door, tumbling inside.
My children, you're alive. You're safe. You found your way home. Oh, thank the stars.
He hugged them so tightly they could barely breathe, covering their heads with kisses.
I'm so sorry. I will never, ever let you go again.
The stepmother looked surprised and maybe just a little bit ashamed. She didn't say she was sorry, but she did quietly cut them each a thicker slice of bread for supper. For a little while, the cottage was filled with warmth and happiness again. But, and this is a big but, a few weeks later a cold snap came and it was too icy for their father to chop wood. The food ran low again, and the stepmother's fear came back, bigger and grumpier than ever. One night, Hansel and Gretel heard the same terrible conversation. The stepmother was insisting they take them into the forest again, even deeper this time. The woodcutter cried, but he felt trapped and helpless. Oh dear, trouble again! What would they do? Hansel knew he had to make another plan. That night, he tried to sneak out to get more pebbles, but this time, the stepmother had locked the door with a heavy iron bolt. It was shut tight. He couldn't get out.
Don't you worry, little sister. I'll think of something else. I always do.
In the morning, as they were leaving, their stepmother gave them each a small, dry crust of bread for their journey. This gave Hansel his new idea. As they walked deeper and deeper into the forest, into places where the trees were so gnarled they looked like sleeping giants, Hansel crumbled his bread in his pocket. He carefully dropped a tiny piece here and a tiny piece there, leaving a trail of breadcrumbs. Oh, Hansel, that's a good idea, but I'm a little worried. What do you think might happen to breadcrumbs in a forest full of hungry little creatures? They walked for hours until they came to a part of the forest that felt truly ancient and forgotten. The air was cold. Once again, their father and stepmother told them to wait and then disappeared into the shadows between the trees. This time, Hansel and Gretel weren't too scared. They felt sure of Hansel's new plan.
It's okay, Gretel. We'll just wait for the moon to rise and then follow my breadcrumb trail home. It will be easy.
They waited and waited, huddling together for warmth. Finally, the moon rose, big and bright. They jumped up, excited to go home. But when they looked down at the forest floor, the breadcrumbs were gone.
Hansel, where are the breadcrumbs?
The birds, the chipmunks, the ants. They must have thought it was a feast. They ate them all. Oh, Gretel, I'm so sorry. My plan was a terrible one.
It was true. Not a single crumb was left. They were lost. Really, truly, hopelessly lost in the deep, dark, and now very, very scary forest. Gretel began to cry great, heaving sobs. Hansel tried to be brave, but he felt a cold knot of fear in his own tummy. They held hands so tightly their knuckles were white and started walking with no idea where they were going. They walked all through the chilly night and all through the next long, scary day. Their feet ached, their tummies growled painfully, and they were so tired they could have slept on a pile of rocks.
It was a very, very scary time. But remember, friends, even when you're so scared you can hardly think, you can still be brave. Being brave doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you keep going
even when you are. And Hansel and Gretel together kept going. They didn't give up. Just when they thought they couldn't take another step, something amazing happened. Gretel, who had a very good nose, sniffed the air.
Gretel, where are the breadcrumbs?
Hansel stopped and sniffed. A delicious, sugary smell was floating through the forest air like a magical ribbon. It smelled like warm gingerbread and creamy chocolate and sticky butterscotch and sweet red candy canes. It was the most wonderful, yummy smell they had ever smelled in their whole entire lives. Their rumbling tummies seemed to pull them forward. They followed the smell, pushing aside ferns and bushes, their tiredness forgotten. And then, in a small, sun-dappled clearing, they saw it.
It wasn't a house of wood or stone. Oh, no, no, no. This was a house from their wildest dreams. The roof was made of dark, shiny gingerbread cookies with thick white icing dripping down the edges like youngy snow. The windows were clear, shiny panels of yellow lemon drop candy that sparkled in the sun. The bricks of the walls were made of creamy milk chocolate and red and white striped peppermint sticks. The path to the front door wasn't gravel. It was a river of glittering jelly beans of every color. And the garden fence was made of giant red and white swirl lollipops. Hansel and Gretel stood with their mouths wide open. They were so hungry, they forgot all about being careful. They forgot the #1 rule: never take candy from a stranger.
Gretel, it's a house made entirely of candy.
And we're so hungry.
Hansel reached out and broke off a piece of the chocolate windowsill. Munch, munch, crunch.
It's real chocolate. It's delicious.
Gretel, standing on her tiptoes, broke off a piece of the gingerbread roof, which was dotted with chewy gumdrops. Nibble, nibble, yum!
It's even better than it smells. It's soft and spicy.
They were so busy munching and crunching, they didn't notice the candy cane-shaped door handle turning. They didn't hear the front door of the candy house creaking open. And standing there was a little old lady, smiling a wide, sugary smile. But she wasn't just any little old lady.
Well, hello there, my dear little children. Are you hungry, my sweets? My poor little house. Please don't eat my home. Come inside. Come inside where it's warm. I have much better treats for you in my kitchen. I have vanilla cakes with sprinkles, and a big wobbly bowl of strawberry jelly, and a whole bubbling pot of rich, hot chocolate with fluffy marshmallows on the fire.
Hansel and Gretel looked at each other, their eyes wide with delight. They thought they had found the kindest grandma in the whole world. Without a second thought, they followed the sweet-smelling old woman right inside her candy house. Now, boys and girls, this is a very, very important part of the story. The old woman seemed very nice, didn't she? She had a sweet voice and offered them even more treats. But we have to remember a super important rule. Never, ever, ever go inside the house of a stranger, even if they have a house made of your favorite candies. It's a rule that Hansel and Gretel wished they had remembered right at that very moment. Because the moment they stepped inside and the door swung shut behind them, The old woman's sweet smile twisted into a nasty, cackling grin.
Got you at last. You nibble on my house, and now I'm going to nibble on you.
She wasn't a kind old woman at all. She was a hungry, hungry witch. And her very favorite food in all the world was children. With a snap of her bony fingers, the witch slammed the door shut and locked it with a magical click-zap that sparkled with evil green light. She was surprisingly strong and fast. In a flash, she grabbed Hansel by his shirt and pushed him into a tall iron cage in the corner of the room. The door slammed shut with a clang that made Gretel jump.
Let me out! Let us go, you mean old witch!
Oh, I'll let you out, my plump little Christmas goose. I'll let you out when you're nice, fat, and juicy enough for my dinner.
Then she turned to Gretel, who was shaking like a leaf in the wind, trying not to cry.
And you, little girl, you will be my helper. You will cook and clean and scrub my pots. Most importantly, you will feed your brother lots and lots of delicious food until he is nice and plump. Then I will cook him in my big hot oven, and we will eat him for dinner.
Gretel was so terrified she couldn't even speak. But deep down, underneath the fear, she felt a spark of bravery. She knew she had to be strong. She had to save her brother. So, every single day, Gretel did as she was told. She cooked huge pots of creamy potato soup, baked loaves of crusty bread, and fried up pans of sausages for Hansel, while the witch gave him nothing but water to drink. The witch wanted to fatten him up as fast as possible. Every single morning, the witch would stomp over to Hansel's cage, her pointy shoes going click, click, click on the candy floor.
Stick out your finger, boy. Let me feel it. I need to see if you're fat enough for my pot yet.
But Hansel, my goodness, he was clever. The first day, he had found a small, thin, dry chicken bone that had been left in his cage from some other poor soul. So when the witch told him to stick out his finger, he carefully poked the skinny little bone through the bars instead. The witch's eyesight was very, very bad. She would feel the skinny bone and get furious.
Bah, still skin and bones. Useless. Eat more, girl. Feed him more cakes and pudding. I want him round as a butterball.
This went on for weeks and weeks. Hansel wasn't getting any fatter because he was secretly throwing the extra food into a corner of his cage when the witch wasn't looking. But the witch was getting hungrier and more impatient. Finally, one day, she stomped her foot so hard a peppermint stick fell out of the wall. She screamed,
I've had enough of this waiting. Skinny or nut, I'm cooking that boy today. Gretel, stop what you're doing and go check the oven. Is it hot enough for baking?
Gretel's heart felt like it turned into a block of ice. She knew what the witch meant. She knew the witch was going to shove her dear brother into that fiery oven. Her mind raced, tumbling over itself. She had to think of a plan, and she had to think of it right now. As she walked slowly, slowly, slowly towards the big brick oven, her legs feeling like wobbling jelly, a brilliant, brave idea popped into her head, like a light switching on in the dark. The witch was stoking the fire with a big poker, making the flames roar and dance hungrily.
Well, is it hot enough, you clumsy girl?
Gretel took the deepest breath she had ever taken in her whole life. She put on her most confused and silly face. She scrunched up her nose.
I'm not sure, Miss Witch. It's so big. How do I tell if it's hot enough? Could you show me? I don't want to get it wrong.
The witch scowled, her face looking like a wrinkled old apple.
You stupid, simple child. You don't know how to check an oven? It's the easiest thing in the world. You just open the door, bend down, and lean your head in like this.
The witch, mumbling about how stupid children were, bent right over and stuck her whole head and shoulders deep inside the hot oven to show Gretel how it was done. And that was Gretel's chance. It was now or never. She wasn't big, but she was filled with a mighty power, the power of saving someone you love. She ran behind the witch, planted her feet firmly on the jelly bean floor, and with one big, giant, enormous push, Gretel shoved the witch with all her might. The witch let out a surprised oomph as she tumbled headfirst into the oven. Gretel, moving faster than she ever had before, slammed the heavy iron door shut. Clang!
Hey, you little brat! Let me out! Let me out this instant! It's hot in here!
But Gretel didn't listen. She saw a heavy iron bolt on the side of the oven, and grunting with effort, she slid it across the door, locking the wicked witch inside for good. The screams grew fainter and fainter until finally they stopped altogether. Hooray for Gretel! She was so clever and so incredibly brave. She didn't just save herself, she saved her brother too. She was the hero of the day. Gretel ran to the iron cage, her hands shaking with excitement and relief. She found the big, rusty key hanging on a hook on the wall. It was heavy, but she managed to lift it and shove it into the lock. Click! The cage door swung open. Hansel jumped out, and they hugged each other so tightly, spinning around and around in the middle of the now friendly candy kitchen.
You did it, Gretel! You were amazing! You defeated the wicked witch!
We did it together, Hansel. You were clever with the bone, and that gave me time to be brave. We make a great team.
Now that the witch was gone, something magical happened to her candy house. The scary, creepy feeling melted away like chocolate in the sun, and it just looked delicious and wonderful again. But even better, the children started to explore the rest of the cottage. And what do you think they found? In the witch's bedroom, behind a curtain made of licorice strings, there was a big old wooden chest. It was locked, but Hansel found a hammer and broke the lock. When they lifted the heavy lid, their eyes nearly popped out of their heads.
Hansel, look! It's a treasure!
The chest was filled to the very top with glittering treasure. Pearls as big as grapes, emeralds as green as the forest leaves, rubies as red as the witch's fiery oven, and piles of shiny gold coins.
This must be from all the poor travelers and children the witch tricked over the years.
We can take this home. We have to take it home. Then Father will never be poor again. We will never, ever be hungry again. And we can help the whole village.
They found a large, sturdy sack in the kitchen. They filled their pockets with jewels until they bulged, and then they filled the big sack with the rest of the treasure, heaving it over Hansel's shoulder. Then, laughing with joy and relief, they ran out of the candy cottage, free at last, blinking in the bright sunlight. But wait, they were still lost in the forest, remember? They had no breadcrumbs, no pebbles. How in the world would they find their way home? Just then, as if in answer to their silent wish, a beautiful, pure white dove flew down from a nearby tree and landed on a lollipop fence post right in front of them. It cooed softly, a sound like a tiny, gentle bell. It fluttered its wings, flew a little way ahead, and then stopped on a branch, turning its head to look back at them, as if to say,
This way. Follow me.
Hansel, look, the dove. I think it wants to help us. I think it's a good magic dove.
So, filled with new hope, they followed the kind white dove. It led them on a winding path they had never seen before, guiding them across a babbling brook on stepping stones and around a giant moss-covered hill. And then, as they pushed aside one final branch, can you guess what they saw? There, at the edge of the forest, was their very own cottage. It looked more wonderful than any candy house ever could. They ran so fast, they were like two shooting stars. They burst through the door, shouting at the top of their lungs,
Father,
we're home!
We're home!
My children, my brave, wonderful, amazing children, you've come back to me. It's a miracle.
He fell to his knees and hugged them, crying tears of pure happiness. He told them that the moment he had returned from the forest without them, his heart had broken into 1,000 pieces. He had sent the grumpy stepmother away, for he could not bear her company, and he had searched for them every single day, calling their names until his voice was hoarse.
We're here, Father, and look what we found.
They emptied their pockets and the heavy sack onto the table. The gold coins clinked and gleamed, and the jewels sparkled, casting tiny rainbows all around the room. The woodcutter's eyes grew wider than soup plates.
Why, this is a fortune, a king's fortune. We are rich, truly rich. We will never be poor or hungry again, ever.
And they never, ever were. From that day on, their little cottage was always filled with laughter, the smell of baking bread, and the sound of happy voices. They bought a sweet, gentle cow for fresh milk, a flock of clucking chickens for eggs, and they planted a huge vegetable garden with every kind of vegetable you can imagine. The father didn't have to work until his arms ached anymore. They used the rest of the treasure to help their neighbors and make the whole village a happier place. And the best part? Hansel and Gretel knew, deep in their hearts, that they had saved each other. They knew that by being clever, and by being brave, and most importantly, by sticking together and never giving up hope, they could overcome any problem, no matter how big and scary it seemed. And so our story comes to the sweetest and happiest of ends. The brave brother and sister with their clever plans and their kind, strong hearts found their way home and lived happily ever after, surrounded by love and plenty. So the next time you feel a little scared or a little lost, remember Hansel and Gretel. Remember that you have your own cleverness and your own bravery inside you, shining as bright as those moonlit pebbles. And especially when you work together with the people you love, you can find your way through any dark forest. Thank you for joining me for this sweet forest adventure, my wonderful storytellers. You are all so brave and clever. Until next time, sweet dreams and happy tales.
The video ends here. Please subscribe, like, and share for more inspiring stories. See you in the next video.